a little over a year ago when we saw GOJO vs SUKUNA for the first time in those manga leaks, I reckon everyone can agree that that was the best fight we have seen in fiction in the last 1,000 years, right? So I was thinking to myself, right, what would that fight look like, you know, the GOJO and the SUKUNA, if they were actually in Phantom Parade? So if you guys have ever thought that too, well, I got you covered, because today's video is what if GOJO from the SUKUNA fight was in Phantom Parade, okay? So before we get any further, I'm gonna need you guys to please flash that like button and start for more content. Road to 1K subs by next week, right? We're going all out, bro. 2025, new year, new me, new grind, same Phantom Parade. Anyway, let's get into it. So for skill 1, I've got nothing too crazy, right? Because it's skill 1, it's a free skill. They're never that crazy, but I reckon like how to make it cool is it's a simple punch, right? But how, you know, the devs can make it cool is if they do a little imbued curse energy punch, right? So this frame here, I'm sure everyone's seen it if you're somewhat a GOJO fan, you know what I mean? It's where GOJO was like match up with SUKUNA with their fists. Such a cool panel. But anyway, right? Obviously he's calling out SUKUNA here. He's like, oh, you know, me can take it. Huh? I can go all out, you know what I mean? So I reckon this skill 1 will not be just any old punch. Obviously it'll be a punch that can do like curse technique damage and a little debuff too. It's GOJO, right? He needs to be OP. So let's give him a little debuff. I reckon decrease or increase the amount of damage the enemy takes and like decreases their crit rate or something like that. But it can be a free, obviously not like the highest multiplier, but enough for skill 1 to be a pretty like credible skill to use, right? Because GOJO always has an infinite curse energy, so curse energy is never a problem for him. So obviously you'd need value in skill 1 for it to even be a thing, right? So I reckon that would be perfect, right? So anyway, we have skill 2 next. Skill 2 I've got as a little, because every GOJO has some kind of buff or like a taunt or something like that, right? So we've got this panel here of him just calling out SUKUNA yet again, saying, oh yeah, no misunderstanding, you're the challenger, okay? So he's saying SUKUNA, you're a weak bitch, you're losing pretty much. So this can be a taunt. There can be two things. Number 1, it can be a taunt, so it can be like he can maybe decrease his damage taken, or like, or assuming he's got limitless, he wouldn't need a damage decrease unless he's in a domain. So it can still be there in case he's in a domain fight, but assuming he is in a domain fight, it can increase his damage, decrease his damage taken, increase his crit rate, anything like that, right? And at the same time, it can also bring all enemies' attacks onto him for a turn or 2, right? Because remember, it's a GOJO. He needs to be OP, and this is pinnacle GOJO. This is peak strength GOJO. This has to be the best one, you know, out of all GOJOs, right? But keep in mind, this unit would not drop for like another 2 years, 2-3 years, because this will even be animated in the anime next season, right? So there's a long way to go, but this is good time to speculate, right? So yeah, so GOJO can obviously have his finger up, just be like, oh yeah, you know, you're the challenger or whatever. He can speak it in Japanese and whatever. But one thing I'm not sure about is if he would have his cloak on. You see obviously the cloak, which he did like, you know, very early in the SUKUNA fight, or if he'd wear instead his, you know, his little Toji combo, his black shirt, white pants, because, you know, he wore that for majority of the fight, but I feel like the cloak is too cool to not include on the unit, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if, like, because they can stretch this GOJO into like 3 units, right? But the very first one, I will not be surprised if they did that one as a cloak one, because that's, you know, the first appearance of GOJO against SUKUNA. Or they can do something like a skin, where obviously how Yuji got his skin free in the points event, the story event, whatever you want to call it. They can do that, where they can have a GOJO skin of the cloak buyable or like exchangeable or grindable in the event for free, right? Because it's not that drastic of a skin. It's like an OC skin, so I doubt they make you pay for it. But again, it is Phantom Parade, so I will not be surprised. But obviously, you know, if they want to be nice, if they want to be like God's Plan Drake, hand out money type shit, they can give it for free. But the standard unit, I reckon, would have just a black shirt, white pants, because that's more iconic, I feel like. But yeah, so that's skill 2, the taunt and buff at the same time. Now, skill 3, okay? Skill 3 is probably my favorite one. Such a cool moment. I think it's kind of not spoken about enough sometimes. We have his little finger gun, right? Not just any old red, but like the finger gun, the strap red, the Glock red, you know what I mean? Just pulling it out. So he did this after GOJO, SUKUNA like slashed him to bits. Not into actual bits, but you know what I mean? And then GOJO kind of like hopped on him, did some like sus leg lock to SUKUNA, hugged him, and then shot him in the face, yeah? So we've got obviously here GOJO all cut up, aiming SUKUNA point blank with his finger, and then he releases it red, okay? And blows up SUKUNA alongside his malevolent shrine, okay? This moment was so cool. I remember like reading this as it was coming out. Like, bro, if you had to be there for chapter, what was it, 223, I think, to 236, you had to be there, bro. Simple as that. You just, those 13 chapters, give or take 13, peak fiction, bro. Like, the next equivalent to that is probably like Goku vs Frieza. If you're like an old head, if you're an unk, you probably read that. But like, you know, this is the next best thing, right? Because the absolute hype it was reaching was unmatched, and actually you did not know what was happening each chapter, right? Like each week you would not know if GOJO was winning. But let's be real, we all knew that SUKUNA was gonna somehow, some way come out on top, because GOJO is unfortunately not the main character, right? It is my boy Yuji. So yeah, GOJO can just pop skill 3 here. It wouldn't matter how much curse energy it costs, but I reckon it wouldn't just be damage. It can be like some kind of buff for himself. Maybe a further damage buff, a further crit buff, a further crit rate buff, something like that. But I reckon the damage it would do would be absolute next level, right? Because we've got to keep in mind, this unit is coming out in 2 to 3 years, right? Which means that they have a lot of time for power creep and, you know, just the overall power scaling to get like notched up like 10 levels, right? So we could easily get like a 3000% multiplier, because it's possible, right? Like power creep is a thing and all that, you know, the passive skills and all that just get longer over time, right? So I would not be surprised if GOJO gets some crazy numbers on this ult, considering they did it for SUKUNA, right? Like SUKUNA has some crazy numbers on his skill 3, not even his ult, but skill 3 has some crazy numbers. So again, do not be surprised if they do it again with GOJO, but on skill 3 it's just crazy, because this was probably his next most powerful attack apart from all his domains, right? So, and whole purple. So finally, for his ult, I have 2 possible combinations, because I do not know what they do for the first unit, right? Because there's a lot they can do. So number 1, we have obviously his chanting for hollow purple going into, bro, look at that artwork. Oh, that's peak. 200% hollow purple, okay? This can be probably the most likely contender for his first ultimate, because it's the first GOJO, his first major attack he did, and bro, this panel is so cool. I actually love it so much. So they can do this for the first one, you know, it can do probably 5,000 damage. I don't know what they'll match up to with green hollow purple, but it's 2 years away, so keep that in mind. But well, to be fair, they do balance changes pretty often, so I doubt they'll let it get that out of hand unless they really want GOJO to be the undisputed best unit in the game, right? So let's assume it's like at 3k multiplier. It'll be similar to green hollow purple GOJO in the sense that it's just nuke damage to shit, right? Just nukes everything. But this GOJO, I think, will not leave. I'll explain why. Because all the other GOJO units, right, it's where he fought pretty much without struggle, right? So it's GOJO just coming in, you know, getting his quick 2-second kill and dipping, right? This GOJO is a little bit different because it's like severely met his match, right? Which means that he was not looking to get out of there as quickly as possible. That man was throwing hands because he likes it, because he likes fighting, bro. Because he wants to prove something to SUKUNA, right? So I'll not be surprised if they just didn't put a turn like cap on this GOJO. I reckon that's the best way to do it, honestly, because I want to use GOJO every turn, right? Simple as that. So I reckon that's what it would be. And if it's not this, right, there's also the maximum hollow purple, but I reckon they'd save that. The next contender, I think, would be domain expansion, okay? Just a domain, because he did it against SUKUNA before this moment, right? Before this red, he used his domain for the first time, which was clashing with SUKUNA's, but SUKUNA came out on top, which crazy, I know. But I reckon they could also do a domain, similar effect to the Infinite Void Gojo we just got on JP, where it'll just be a bunch of debuffs, but maybe you can do a bit of damage. I don't know how that would work, but I reckon the best way to do it is just debuffs, because that's what, you know, Infinite Void more or less is, right? Just guarantee a hit, weaken the enemy to absolute crap, right? So that's the unit. Feel free to dispute with me in comments. I think I cooked, personally. I really do think I cooked. So that is all for today's video. Again, be sure to backslash the like button for more content and subscribe for more videos. Road to 1K by the end of the week. I know you guys got it. 1025, we're aiming big, you know what I mean? But on some real shit though, by the end of the year, I want to be at a decent spot, right? So I encourage you guys to please support the channel, and I appreciate all the support, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.